Good day, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Frank Talk. Today, we're going to discuss Almajiri in northern Nigeria. Here with me is my guest, Malam Hamza Idris. There has recently been a heated conversation on social media regarding the flight of Almajiri in the northern Nigerian space. So, sir, there are a lot of discussion regarding that Almajiri has outlived its purpose, its original purpose in northern Nigeria, and that government has not been doing enough in addressing the menace of children below the ages of 12, some even below the ages of 10, some even below the ages of 5, roaming the streets and without food and without good shelter. So how do you think government is going to tackle?
You see, it's not the search for knowledge that outlived its purpose, but the circumstances surrounding the search for Islamic knowledge. When you talk about Sangaya, it has been there for centuries. It is as old as Islam in Nigeria. I am an Almajiri. I was an Almajiri and I remain an Almajiri. My father was an Almajiri. May Allah accept his soul. My brothers, my sisters were all Almajiri. You understand? But the pattern of search for the knowledge of the Quran is the area that we have problem now, because children as young as 3, put under the, I would not say tutelage, but under, I would not even say custody. They're just given, dashed to so-called scholars. Now they take them to unknown destinations. And then when they get there, they are not even learning. What they do is to roam the streets begging for food, begging for drugs, begging for whatever you can think of. This was not the spirit behind this Angaya education. In those days, you put your children under the tutelage of a cleric who has memorized the Quran, and then you also give him food. You understand? It may not be enough, but you give him food, then he now, carries the students and then to go somewhere. And then they will not be in the city, they will be in the outskirts. So that as early as 5 a.m. or after the dawn prayers, they will start reciting the Quran. Then around 7:30, they go and beg for food, because the one they have may not necessarily, suffice. So, and then later they come continue reading, and then they do that again and again. So that before you know, somebody will commit the Quran to memory. The Sangaya pupils of those days were not illiterate. You cannot call somebody who committed 77,797 words to memory, somebody who committed 60 chapters of the Quran to memory, illiterate. He isn't. The only difference is that he was not certificated. Now, these days, you need formal education. You now put it alongside the Quranic education, you get certificated, and then you become productive to yourself, to your family, and the society. Now, governments over time have failed to align with modernity so that they can improve the Sangaya system in such a way that while seeking for Quranic education, you also seek for Western education, so that at the end of the day, you put them side by side, and then you get certificated, and then here you go. This is the problem, and it's a societal existential problem. The problem is from the national to subnational levels. It also has with moral decadence in the society, and then abdication of responsibility by parents, because every Nigerian now, whether he lives in the town or in the city, knows that if you subject your child to street begging, number one, he will not even get the Quranic education, and then secondly, he doesn't have access to formal education, and then thirdly, what becomes of him? He becomes a nuisance to the society. So these are basically some of the problems. But Sangaya education has been there, and it is still there, because I know in our neighborhood I didn't go to Zangaya school and begged before I acquired the little knowledge I have of the Quran. We go in the morning and then we go back home, eat, and then from there carry our bags, go to school. I attended Catholic school. At the same time, attended Zangaya school. During the days of former President Jonathan, he spent around 15 billion naira to establish 156 Zangaya schools. And they were meant to be boarding schools so that children there, in the morning they will learn Quran and jurisprudence, and then thereafter they learn formal education. So by the time they finish primary, they finish secondary, they will have memorized the Holy Quran and then have at least SSCE, Senior Secondary School Certificate of Education. Jonathan domiciled these under UBEC. But you know, UBEC is percentages. There is, certain percentages coming from the federal government, another percentage from the state government, another percentage from the local government. It was really not fully synchronized, let me use this word, in such a way that funding, recruitment, and monitoring will be perfect. Now, assuming we made them to be part of unity schools, for instance, or even under UBEC, now the federal government, to make laws, to go to the state houses of assembly or at the national level, we said, okay, local government authorities must be paying the salaries of these clerics. State governments should be paying for infrastructure, you understand, and then fine-tuning the curriculum. And then federal government can now give maybe stipend to people who, are students of that system. Because it is not much to spend whatever you have to reform a system that does not give certainty to over 10 million people, over 10 million children. So whatever, and it's just a stopgap measure, because by the time parents understand that their children can learn the messages in the Holy Quran, can memorize, and at the same time get or acquire Western education, I don't think if they will be averse to this. So there is the need for us to go back just to the days of Goodluck Jonathan. Even now we know that those who acquire knowledge of Islam, Quranic education, and then Western education, their performance, their productivity in the places they work is different. It's different. So it's not much for the 19 northern governors to say, okay, we are going to dedicate maybe 10% or 20% of our budgets to fine-tuning Zangaya education for the next 20 years. I can assure you, if they do this, and how long will it take us to get to 20 years? It's like the blink of an eye.
So the idea of aligning Islamic and the Western education together for this, don't you think it will continue to encourage those parents that are not ready to be taking responsibility of their children to be sending them?
Punish them. As government, let me tell you, as government, you have the powers to reprimand. In Europe, if you manhandle cat, you know what that means. You lose a fortune, not to talk of your child. How can somebody throw his 3-year-old to the street and then you now say he has right? He has forfeited his right. We must enforce the laws. How? We keep waiting for the white man to come. There is this thing they are doing in Zamfara State now. UNICEF understood that fathers were not willing to actually take responsibility of their children. So what are they doing? They now concentrated on mothers. They put mothers on stipend. It's like cash transfer. I think 8,000 or thereabout for them to send their children to formal school. If you have 3 children, maybe you are entitled to 8,000 times 3. Many mothers now in Zamfara, some others in far northwest, they are now fighting their husbands. Yes, to allow them take charge of their children. Because in the morning, that peanut they are getting from UNICEF, they fry akara. Some do danwaki. You understand? They feed the children and then ask them to go to school. because the criteria of next month payment is attendance. So mothers are making a fortune now.
With this, we have come to the end of today's Frank Talk with the General Editor of the Daily Trust, Malam Hamza Idris. Please stay with us next week, same time.